Tech is first of all about people and having the best talents.
Today I'm very happy we have Christian Klein, the CEO of SAP, with us in the EIT Digital Makers and Shapers series. Christian, a warm welcome.
Yes, thanks a lot, Willem, for having me.
Of course, people know SAP. It doesn't need much of an introduction. You are really at the heart of European priorities on climate change, on digital transformation. And of course, your company is, as no other European company, extremely well positioned to handle big data and apply artificial intelligence. At the same time, what you very often hear is that Europe has to step up on AI. The Americans are leading. Even in the Far East, we see strong competition there. What is your assessment of where do we stand in Europe, and where should we make the additional investments that are currently being made by member states, by the European Union?
When you look at all the B2C platforms, when you look at social media, I mean, we have to admit that we somehow missed the train in Europe when you're looking at, especially when you look at all the tech players in the Silicon Valley who have grown at an unbelievable scale in the meantime. I also would say Europe has a unique opportunity. I mean, we are very strong in many industries, especially in the B2B space. And we have a lot of knowledge, we have a lot of expertise. But for us in Europe, it doesn't always feel that we are one Europe. For example, with GAIA-X, we are now moving all the car manufacturers, all the suppliers into one B2B network, and we are setting a standard. We have to make sure that we come together, not only in Germany, but really across Europe, set a standard, and then be an open network.
Talking about these opportunities and these collaborations in these areas across Europe, an important new initiative that gets much attention is, of course, GAIA-X. Mm-hmm. And you as SAP are participating there, a driving force. So what is the ambition of GAIA-X? Why is SAP part of it? And what do you expect out of it for Europe, but also for your company?
Yeah, GAIA-X is first and foremost for me a very important initiative to just remove all the concerns we still have here in Germany around cybersecurity, and when I take my data out of my own data center and put it to the cloud, what is happening there? Yeah, and I can only tell everyone it's actually a very safe place. It's a very secure place. All the cloud providers, including SAP, we are spending hundreds of millions of making our data centers, making our solutions the most safe environment our customers can have. Much safer than when every company tries to do this on their own in their own data center. But GAIA-X is then also an umbrella to say, okay, where is the data located? What kind of people do touch the data? Yeah, there is still a lot of discussion around who has access to the data, also from the US. And GAIA-X has certain principles to really make sure this is a safe environment, the data stays here in Europe, there's only a certain amount of people who have access to this data, to really make sure that very sensitive data is, of course, also highly protected under certain principles. This is a very safe cloud environment, but we digitize the supply chain and you get immense business benefits. But only if you go to the cloud, only if you share data. So GAIA-X is an enabler for many more business models like that. Think about healthcare. I mean, we always, here in Germany, is a big debate about hospitals. We don't have too many nurses. The doctors are completely underwater, under pressure. But they are doing everything paper-based. Yeah, and also the whole procurement or everything is all paper-based. Nothing is digital. Let's see, can we not connect, the hospitals with all of their suppliers, with the technology providers, to really make sure we also drive productivity, and also for the patients, that we are not have to send around a lot of paper between certain doctors to find the ideal medication, for a patient.
You mentioned healthcare, and of course we've seen it in COVID, how important this is.
And I, as a patient, would be happy if everyone looks at the same documents and can right away respond to my needs. That we are still living somehow in Stone Age, where all the technology is there, and it's actually also a safe environment there to completely digitize that. And this is not about technology. This is about the willingness from the top to drive change, but also to explain to citizens that there is only upside. At the end, everyone would benefit from it in a very severe situation. So it's really about scale, and it's really about sharing data and embrace the opportunities we have with all these digital technologies.
Indeed, when you look at this specific COVID situation, Christian, you do see that it has been an accelerator, it has created awareness, it has made people move to the digital world. At the same time, people should realize that moving a meeting from a physical office to a Zoom environment does not mean that you are a digital business or you have completed the digital transformation. There's much more to do in the back office, in your processes, and to really benefit from all the opportunities that digital technology built for you, your business model, your back office systems, your connectivity.
Every digital transformation project doesn't start actually with technology. It doesn't start with AI. It starts about how will my business look like in 5 years from now? How is the behavior of my consumers changing? How can I automate certain processes inside my enterprise, and what kind of impact will this have on the employee? So it's about people, it's about human beings, and really understanding how technology will enable the change. Look at SAP. We are now heavily shifting our business model from on-premise to the cloud. That has implications on our P&L. So I also have to, educate our investors that they support this change, that this is good mid and long term for SAP, because this is where the future is, changing business model and then applying technology in the right way. But a digital transformation project will not go into the right direction if there is just IT sitting with you. It's really a business model. You need to have the buy-in from your leaders, from your stakeholders, and also very important to take the employees, to take the people with you. It's change.
Systems follow strategy. I could not agree more. I want to shift to a different topic, if you allow, and that's the relationship between large corporates and the emerging and strengthening startup ecosystems in Europe. Over the past decade, we really have seen them flourishing. And the challenge is to connect that startup world to the large corporate world, to benefit from each other, to work in ecosystems. You have a lot of experience in that in SAP. I mean, I know you are quite present in Silicon Valley. I visited your offices there, but also in the European ecosystems. So what's your view on that? How should it be done? What kind of measures should be taken? And how is SAP benefiting from these ecosystems?
Yeah, actually, SAP is benefiting a lot, and we need these startups. First of all, it's very needed that companies like SAP have an open platform, because such a startup plays in a certain niche at the very beginning. And so for us, it's very important that we connect them, to our world, to give them access to our expertise, to our technology, to our data models, so that they can seamlessly expand and grow with SAP. Because as much as I want, the world will not only consist of SAP software. So we are running software in very mission critical parts of an enterprise, but we cannot code, every application down to a shop floor, for example, or every application for healthcare. SAP cannot code everything. So it's very important to have a rich ecosystem and to connect them, to our applications. This is why we have, for example, SAP IO, where we are constantly screening the startup community, where we also give, of course, not only expertise, but also money, and make them part of the SAP ecosystem firsthand, and hopefully let them grow. Then we have Sapphire Ventures, who is screening the market. They are focused on the Silicon Valley, but they, of course, also look into what is happening in Asia, what is happening in India. That we saw the IPO of Freshworks, and that's a fabulous success story from a startup, who actually started in India. And of course, for me, it's also very important. I mean, I sit together regularly with startups. We have Project 44, we have Parcel Lab. They are doing, for example, last mile delivery. So I learn a lot about, how is the supply chain, how is the logistic changes in changing in certain industry, because this also gives me very important outside in perspective before I'm making any decisions inside SAP. So to have also this exchange, to be active in this community is not only important from a portfolio perspective, but just to better understand where is the market going to, and is there maybe the next SAP coming up, and it's very important to be there to not miss any train.
As you said, you would like to see more European unicorns. I think that's what we all would like to see. SAP, together with ASML, are the most valuable IT companies in Europe. At the same time, both of them originated in the previous century. So what do we need to do in Europe to make sure that we get these new digital companies rising and we make the global impact players like SAP?
Now it's all about how can we help them to scale. And of course, it's about money. And also here in Europe, there's upside to that. How are we going to incentivize also certain ways of paying people, for example, with stock options in the startup, in the tech? It's all about, let the next generation also participate in the success of a company. This is much better incentivized. It's much more tax friendly in the US than here in Europe. When you are then fresh in a business, you have a great idea, you will come to a point where you have to scale, where you have to make sure that you expand your go-to-market. You have the expertise into how to scale the product, how to scale the technology. So what we can do as SAP is, of course, giving them access to our best experts, to have them understand how to grow this business, which markets could they go into. So it's not only about giving money, it's also about advising, helping, giving experts, and then, of course, also allowing them to hire the right people. What I see with a lot of investment funds in the US, especially when I'm talking to them, this is not only about money. There's a whole machine behind helping these startups to scale, and that's equally important.
Indeed, in the end, companies are about people. And there we have an enormous shortage.
What I would actually love to see, by the European Union, but also by our government or across Europe in each single country is, first of all, you already mentioned it. Tech is first of all about people and having the best talents. So first of all, in COVID, we were not even able in Germany to, do homeschooling. So this is not good when you want to play a bigger role in the tech space going forward, when you not even can make sure that our kids having access to a digital platform which works.
We are also collaborating with universities to make sure we get more talent, but also talent with the right mindset, with the entrepreneurial mindset.
When you then look into the universities, and when I have my exchange with our interns and talents, it's also very important to understand where they are coming from, what is in their mind. And then you look at the content, the curricula in the tech space, it's going so fast, so be faster. And also educate, our professors, everyone, at the university schools to also translate, how tech can be exciting.
When talking about the role of governments and also the European Union, we just recently had the State of the Union by Ursula von der Leyen. Mm-hmm. And there she stressed the topic of digital sovereignty, tech sovereignty. And she also announced the priorities and especially the focus on a European semiconductor industry. What is your view on how governments should support innovation in the digital domain in Europe?
I also, talked to Ursula von der Leyen about where also Europe can play in the tech space. So I'm, for example, not so much confident that we should now invest a lot into building the next hardware provider here in Europe, because I feel this space is pretty much gone. Semiconductor, yes, fair. We have to have targeted investments to build the foundation, to also have this digital sovereignty. But it will not happen if we go now completely into isolation. We don't have all the companies here to do this end to end, and such a platform also needs to be open. While we have certain data security and cybersecurity standards, we of course have to make sure that we also then invite others to join. So it has to be open, but what we can do better, we do it under certain conditions under GAIA-X, to also be a front runner on data security, data protection. I guess this is the way to go. Be very targeted, be very focused, see where we still have the battlegrounds where we can win in Europe, and then also do something around education, because this is is so foundational. We have to have the best talents here in Europe.
A final topic, Christian, I would like to discuss with you in a geopolitical context, but also in the context of digital sovereignty, is that of cybersecurity. And when you deal with a lot of data, of course, there are a lot of threats. Also, the surface of attack is growing with IoT systems, with data being all over the place, with data being on mobile devices. What is SAP doing, and what should be the key priorities there from your perspective?
Yeah, that's an important question, actually, what I'm also discussing with many CEOs around the globe, and they are doing business in the US, they're doing business in Russia, they're doing business in China. Now it's a matter of fact that the geopolitical tensions are increasing. So what if certain sanctions are coming? Can I still run my business in the cloud globally? I see many countries more going into isolation. But while we still need to do business globally, our supply chains are connected. So what we are doing is, first of all, investing heavily also in country clouds to make sure that if something is happening, that we can still, have the business up and running. And second, on cybersecurity, of course, we are increasing our investments by a lot, because a lot of, cybersecurity attacks who are successful out there with certain enterprises, we don't even hear that. And oftentimes it happens in local data centers, in on-premise data centers, where there is a small customer who, of course, not have the money to protect the own firewall as much as is needed these days. And so it's actually in favor of moving this data to one of the big clouds. So where, for example, SAP can make sure that from the application down to the infrastructure, we really can protect.
Christian, I want to thank you very much for being with us, for your time, for your thoughts. What we have seen in our dialogue today is that digital transformation is about technology, but it's even more about people. Thank you for bringing those insights, and looking forward to see you again.
Yeah, indeed, Willem. Thanks for having me. It was a great dialogue, and I would say next time we do it also then hopefully on-site together in Amsterdam, or you're more than welcome to also visit us here in Heidelberg, Germany. Thanks a lot.
I'll happy to come over.